I think that work life balance is deeply personal. I think it doesn't look the same to everyone. I feel like it's very tailored to who you are.
It really depends on your personal preferences. So some people work-life balance can be 50-50, can be 80-20. So just the level of balance you would get, it depends. It varies from people to people.
But it's definitely way more prominent now. More people are talking about it now because I feel like research has gone into it and a lot of thought has been put into how can we make people more efficient with what they do.
A lot of companies, have kind of done research into the psychology of an employee in a sense and how best they could, create value from their employees, from their workforce.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Simpletin Podcast Season 2. Today, we are going to be discussing a quite interesting and controversial topic. Is work-life balance a buzzword or a necessity? My name is Israel Olutola, Business Systems Analyst Intern at Simpletin Consulting, and I'll be your host for today. With me right here is Adaora Dike, Business Growth Specialist, and Raphael Emmanuel, Business Systems Analyst Intern at Simpletin Consulting. So we're going to delve right into the conversation for today. Firstly, is work-life balance a deeply personal concept, or do you think that work-life balance means the same thing to everyone? And what does work-life balance personally means to you?
I think that work life balance is deeply personal. I think it doesn't look the same to everyone. I feel like it's very tailored to who you are and what you prioritize. So for some people, a weekend is enough for their personal and for their personal life to for them to feel like they had balance. And for some people, that's not enough. They need maybe half the week or something like that. So I feel like it depends on the person and what they consider a balance to them. So how much of their personal life are they willing to forgo? How much of their professional life are they willing to forgo to take more time in their personal life? So I feel like it's very personal and it's not the same at all. And then for me, I think what's the name? Work life balance is basically how do I not forgo my professional life and how do I feel at the end of the week or at the end of the month that I did not just work all through, that I actually took time out for myself to do things that give me that break, give me time to rest, give me time to recharge with my friends, with my family, going out, things like that. So it's just how do I balance that with my work and not feel like I'm not doing enough as well. Because it's very easy to feel like you're not doing enough once you're starting out. It's very easy to feel like, oh, I should be working every second of the day to catch up because you always feel behind, to be honest. But for me, it's just balancing that with doing things that I enjoy doing outside work, doing things that will make me feel like, yeah, I'm not just working, I'm living. So yeah, that's what it means to me.
All right, thank you, Adora. Raphael.
Yeah, I think, like Adora said, work-life balance is very much subjective. It really depends on your personal preferences. So some people work-life balance can be 50-50, can be 80-20. So just the level of balance you would get, it depends. It varies from people to people. So I would say for me, work-life balance would be, me being able to be as productive as possible at work, but still having the time to do personal stuff that make me happy, being with family, friends, going out, watching a TV show, whatever that may be. So just having that time for, personal stuff, but still making sure that I'm as productive as I can at work. So I think that's what work-life balance means to me.
So you're saying that work-life balance is something that is deeply personal and it can vary from person to person.
Yeah.
So I can't balance life and work the same way as you would. But if I were to ask, do you feel like work-life balance to you is it tilted towards more having enough time, having more time, or just the kind of feeling of fulfillment that you get?
Yeah, I think I'll tilt more towards the fact that it's a feeling because, if you're working and then you still have the time to do personal stuff, but you actually don't take that time to do those things that would create that level of balance, then there's you can't really call it work life balance. But then even if you're doing a lot at work, but then you maybe you just have 20 minutes out of a day to do something, and you actually take that 20 minutes to do something else, whether it's read a book, whether it's even just rest or something, the feeling you get from knowing that you're not overworked in a sense or overwhelmed by whichever side, I think that will really be the indicator of balance in a sense. So I think it's more of a feeling.
So it's more of a feeling than more of having enough time. Adora.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely more of a feeling because imagine working and then you have time to rest, quote unquote, you have time to do something else, and then you still just sit there and marinate in thoughts of work. I feel like unless you're doing something else, work still clouds your mind because you're thinking of what else can I do? What can I do to improve what I'm doing? Like it's a constant thought unless you take time away from that to kind of put something like do something else. And he mentioned something about 20 minutes. Sometimes it just takes 20 minutes for you to feel a balance that day. If you take that 20 minutes that day to do something you really wanted to do, you feel like, oh, yeah, I did that thing I wanted to do. And you won't really feel like that day you did so much work because you were able to accomplish that one thing you really wanted to do. So just making sure that um you balance it in the sense that like the balance just comes from the feeling, I feel. Just comes from how you feel at the end of the day. Do I feel like I did something for myself? Do I feel like there's no one part of me that's pushing the other part like that's pushing it in or something like that. So yeah.
Also, I'd love to have to add to that the feeling is not just a feeling of ecstasy. Is I think it's a feeling of fulfillment.
Yeah.
There's a feeling you get when you are fulfilled that yes, at least I've done something. So currently, we find out that in our days, the term work-life balance is being thrown around than normal. Previously, this was not the case. When we look at the generation of the baby boomers and the millennials, unlike Gen Zs now, everybody's talking about work-life balance, and then there's an accusation that these people don't want to work; they just want to make money. So, do you think work-life balance is something that just gained prominence now? Has it existed before? Has it existed as a concept before, or is it just something that started existing in Gen Z world?
Um I don't I don't think it didn't exist. I feel like it existed, but it's definitely way more prominent now. More people are talking about it now because I feel like research has gone into it and a lot of thought has been put into how can we make people more efficient with what they do? How can we make sure that they are putting their best foot forward? And also the rise in mental health awareness as well, just making sure that people are not drained. So I feel like there are people, companies and people in general are more conscious of people's mental health, human efficiency, and I feel like that's what has made it more prominent now. Making sure that because I feel like having that balance makes people more efficient. Having that time out to take a break to reset and come back to work gives you that I think I feel like it does give the balance and it does what's the name make you work better. So I feel like that's what has made for it to be more talked about now because everybody wants their company or their workers to be the most efficient as efficient as they can and making sure that they are working at their best. So I think that along with mental health awareness, making sure that people do not feel as drained as they used to because of work, making sure that they feel like they can do their work and they can also take time for themselves to actually give them those things that keep them going. So yeah, I feel like these things are some of the things that made it more prominent now.
All right, thank you. So something to note there is the fact that there is a kind of correlation between work-life balance and the ongoing mental awareness that is also gaining prominence amidst it. So, Raphael, do you also think that work-life balance is something that's existed before, or is something that maybe just gained popularity amidst us? And why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think work-life balance has always been a thing conceptually. But just like in recent times, it's just much more defined because, like Adora said, a lot of companies, have kind of done research into the psychology of an employee in a sense and how best they could, create value from their employees, from their workforce. So it's more so of the companies are thinking one, we want to grow, we want value, but then at the same time, they would still want their employees to have a conducive environment where they're able to give their best because you cannot achieve that growth without, the full backing of your workforce. So now it's even more so of a necessity whereby companies are being more intentional, making sure that their employees have a level of balance, and it creates a level of mental stability which directly translates to their productivity. So I would say it's more so on the research, like Adora said, and also the ability to get the best out of your employees, and then on the part of the employees as well. I think people are now very much concerned about their mental health. It was, although you could still say it was a thing, but now it's more prevalent into how it affects you generally. So if your mental health is not at the best as a result of you having an unbalanced work life, you know that you have to be intentional about creating that level of balance. So I think that's why it's more prevalent these days.
All right. So talking about psychology, I think also research has already shown that people who are balanced in one aspect of their life tend on to they go ahead to go and be balanced in other areas of their life. So
Mm,
somebody that take for instance somebody that just had a relationship issue,
mm,
the person is going to translate. There's a part of that pain that's going to be translated to the efficiency that the individual is going to give at work. So firms, individuals, founders, businesses that have gone on to find out that people are the aspect of people's life are all together. There is no separate life.
mm.
There is no separate emotional life. There's no separate spiritual life. So once you can cater for the well-being of one aspect of that life, you'd probably cater for other aspect of that life.
Yeah.
So, um, what measures have you put in place to ensure that you have a healthy work-life balance? And then, can you talk about a time where someone or something tried to encroach on those measures and how you went about that?
So for me, as a young professional, I don't. What I do personally is taking my weekend off. So I like to do everything I have to do during the week, the work week, and then take my weekend off to kind of do the other things I wanted to do, my personal things. So going out with my friends, going out with my family, watching movies, stuff like that. So it's basically just taking that time to make sure I'm catering to my personal life, to make sure that I'm actually doing those things that recharge me for the next week. And it doesn't always work that way because sometimes some priorities, like some things take priority. So, for instance, the example I give is this weekend on Sunday, I received a message from a partner regarding a project that we're working on right now. And I couldn't ignore it because it's a project that's currently like ongoing. So it's something I had to attend to at the time. So doing that now trickled down to more work, like me having to go into the work zone during the weekend. I had to do that because they are priorities. So in cases like that, I don't really feel like there's no balance because it's something I've eventually had to do. So and it's something that is pressing right now. So to ensure that my professional life, because it would be weird if I say, oh, it's just my weekend and I don't want to do it, even though it's something that has to be done. So there are some cases where there are things that have to be done and they will encroach in your time. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but just always making sure that those things are important things that are encroaching in that time that you set out for yourself.
So,
So
are you saying there are actually certain priorities that can rule out measures that you've put in place for ensuring a healthy
yeah,
work-life balance?
yes, I believe so because there are things that don't wait for you.
Hmm.
There are things that don't wait for you, and you cannot expect them to wait for you. And them waiting for you would now equal like poor work performance or something like that. So thinking that some things will wait for you to rest or some things will wait for you to take a break can lead to like very bad results. So just making sure that those things, because as I said, they are priorities, making sure that you attend to them at that point in time. And then still just make sure that you're not too lenient with your time as well. So making sure that those things are priorities. Yeah, I feel like it'd be good.
So, from what you've said so far, there's a balance I can strike that as long as you still want to ensure you have a healthy work-life balance, you should also give leeway for certain exceptions.
Yes,
There are some
because a balance is like basically making sure that your professional life and your personal life do not suffer. So making your professional life in that case, because in that situation, your professional life will suffer. So it cannot really be balanced. So in some cases, you have to take away time from your personal life to address some professional things to make sure that your professional life does not suffer. So yeah.
All right, thank you. That was quite insightful, Raphael.
Yeah. Um. I think when it comes to, yeah, like what Adora said, putting in those measures. For me personally, I would want to be as productive as I can during the main, the work week, and the weekends. Maybe just try and take time off and rest and recharge ahead of the next week and all. So, but things might, kind of roll over into the weekend, and that, let's say, if you're working in like a structured environment where there's a set plan of goals that you're trying to achieve, and you know that some of those things might not be able to be done if you don't really stretch yourself, in a sense. If you want to stick to Monday to Friday, you might get the work done, but then it may sometimes some deadlines or set goals may require extra work or extra time. So it might still encroach into your weekend sometimes. But I think once you're able to kind of plan your life, in a sense, when it comes to work, and know what is the priority, you can still find a way to draw a line, in a sense, and know when you can still take off that time for your personal life as well.
All right, so thank you so much for that response. But I also found out that it is not only individuals that set structures to ensure that they have healthy work-life balance.
Mm.
Companies also
Yeah.
have started taking that initiative to go ahead to ensure that their employees have work-life balance. So I'll just share a couple examples that I've come across, and maybe you just share one or two. So I've seen companies have crèche in their firm. They have crèche for employees that have toddlers to bring them to the firm. So if you've taken care of a baby before, you'd know that it's something that can be quite frustrating. And for companies to take that initiative to go a step further and take away that frustrating element from the life of their employee, it gives the person a better chance to be more productive at work. So I know that I'm not going to take my child to a crèche somewhere else that I won't be able to see the baby. But now this person is in the same office with me, and this person is being catered for.
And it
It's
even cuts down on the commute time. Because, for instance, the crèche for your child is far away. You have
actually,
to drive there in the
Yeah.
morning, then drive there after work. So that time now is something you can take for yourself or put into work.
yeah.
So
So
yeah, I don't think
that's
that's
one of the initiatives I've seen. I've also seen companies have like swimming pool, just so that people can relax. If your nerves are up, you can just jump into a pool
you
and
just gonna
and
cool
calm.
down.
So have you come across other initiatives by companies to just ensure
Yeah.
their
Yeah, there are some that have like sleeping pods. So where you can just go and take a nap midday. And then the also catering to their tummies as well. There are some that have like very
yeah.
good like catering services for their people. So you cut out that time that you spend outside going to go and buy food during your lunchtime. You just eat at work. So things like that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. I think for me, I know certain companies literally mandate that you sleep specifically, like you rest. So you typically have your usual lunch break, but I know there are companies that will literally like turn off the lights in the office so that you can actually feel like, okay, this is like your break actually. Take the time to rest for an hour, 30 minutes, then you come back to work. So it's almost like they force you to, take that time because they know that you need it. And some people are workaholics. They might not really know when they have, reached their limits. So the companies are also trying to be as intentional about making sure that you also have that balance for yourself, even though you might not even realize it.
Yeah, so talking about forcing employees to just make sure they take a break, I've
Mm.
also come across a situation where you have to work at least once from home every week. Like you don't have option.
Mm.
People that work on site.
Yeah.
So every Friday you do not have either Friday or Mondays. You just choose a day of the week that you have to. Don't come to work today. Don't go through that commute stress. Just rest at home and work from home.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Yeah.
quite an improvement from what we have seen in previous times. So I'd love to ask that with the rise of artificial intelligence and the whole hype surrounding it, everybody's saying artificial intelligence is going to transform things. Everybody's saying artificial intelligence is going to make some people lose their job.
Mm.
So do you think artificial intelligence and automations in general, do you think is going to make us more balanced as a generation, or is just going to make us more available than normal?
Yeah, I think with artificial intelligence, it may not directly translate to you having work-life balance because the whole purpose of AI in a work setting is essentially to, help you do processes faster or do your work faster, streamline processes, maybe take care of some more technical or repetitive tasks, in a sense. So because you've kind of delegated some things to your AI systems within your work, you now see that you have the time to actually, you're now more available actually to do other things, maybe take up more strategic roles and responsibilities that may require more of a human touch to it. And then even at the same time, regardless of what the AI systems would do, you still have to be like present a level of oversight to still actually monitor what's going on, because you can always 100% trust some of those systems
Yeah, yeah.
to avoid any form of liability and all that. So I don't think it will make you, because you work with AI now, you're now free to do any other thing and you can just leave work. I don't think that will happen. I don't think that is happening. I think you would now be more available actually to do more, to do other things essentially. So if you actually still value work-life balance, it's still on you. You have to be very intentional about taking out the time to do that one thing or those things that would present that level of balance from your personal life as well. Not just because there's AI in the picture now and it will give you that chance. You have to still be intentional about it.
All right. So two things that stood out for me from that response is that you have to be intentional.
Mm.
So if you are looking to have a healthy work-life balance, it is not just going to drop on your lap. So you have to be intentional about having a healthy work-life balance. And also, you mentioned that availability does not equally translate to balance.
Balance,
You
yeah.
can be available and not balance. I remember Adaora was also saying that you can stop working and in your head you are still working. You're still thinking about work.
Mm.
That is not going to leave you with the sense of fulfillment that you're supposed to have, that supposed to derive from balance.
Mm.
So availability does not equally translate to balance, and then intentionality about balance. So from that response, I can deduce that AI and automation is not automatically going to make us more balanced.
Yeah.
It will give us availability, and what you use the time for is what is going to determine whether you become more balanced as a person or not. Also, I would love to ask that given the nature of our work and the scope of work that we do, especially here at Simpletin, you can use that as an example. Do you think that remote work makes it easier or harder to balance life and work? What is your own point of view?
I think it makes it harder. I think it makes it harder because there's no clear line with remote work. There's no clear line between your personal life and your professional life. For some workplaces, although it's like remote working is breaking into the physical spaces, but for some workplaces, there's a clear line between your work and personal. You say at 5 p.m., I'm going off work. So you go home and you rest. But in the case where your office and your home are the same space, it's quite difficult to differentiate. It's quite difficult to draw that line, but it's something you have to be intentional about. Something you have to be very intentional about. Because take a look at Simpleton, where it's like, for instance, there's some days that we have multiple meetings during the day, but during those meetings, we were assigned some tasks, or there are some things that we noticed that we should work on, stuff like that. We wouldn't now say, oh, once it's 5 o'clock now, and that one is till tomorrow. You have to do those things. But taking that time out from that day, that hectic day, to rest or to do something else that you wanted to do now lies in your hands. So it does make it difficult to draw that line, because it can make you, drawing that line yourself can make you look unprofessional or lazy or just unproductive. But it's something that you have to do personally. But it's not something you do all the time. It's something that you have to do though to get that balance. You have to draw that line when you see that, oh, this is becoming too much for me, or I'm becoming I think I need to take a break. You should take that break at the time. So because the remote work is as flexible as it is, it might seem daunting to do that, because you don't want to now seem lazy. And us Gen Zs, we already carry the shame of that. They're already telling us that we're lazy on a steady. So it's like we feel that pressure to keep on working all the time to prove ourselves. But you should take the time off. You should draw that line and take a time to breathe, take a walk. Like, it actually improve your working as well. So I do think it makes it harder, but it's something we can manage.
Okay, so flexibility is one of the selling points of remote work from experience, from what I've heard from others that do not even work remotely. They feel like flexibility is one of the selling points of remote work. But from what you have said so far, it feels like that same flexibility is what is
Yes.
the negative or the weapon fashioned
Flexibility
against
is a
remote work.
blessing and a curse, in the
It's a
sense
blessing
that
and a curse.
it's a blessing and a curse for real. Because when you're flexible, now you have the time to do other things you want to do because you're not in the office all day. So that still comes back to your intentionality in balancing your professional and personal life. You have to be intentional about that time now that remote work has brought to you. But the fact that work is remote now brings this idea that is easy and you should be able to do it all day or something like that. Like, but it's not like that.
It's not
So
as easy as it
yeah, it's not
sounds.
as easy as it sounds, and it's like a two-edged sword. It's like two-edged sword that on one hand you now have time because you're not restricted to your workplace to being in the office all day. But on the other hand, now your office is your home. So where is the line? So it's quite confusing sometimes, but it's something you have to navigate yourself, and it's something you have to like be intentional about. Companies are also being intentional about it, trying to give you time, some specific time frames to rest during the day. There's a lunch hour, stuff like that. Because as simple as there's a lunch hour and that, but it's also something that you have to do yourself sometimes.
So I think there's a big question right there. Where is the line? Like, because like you said earlier, that the line is quite blurred. The line between work and life. So one thing that I've stood out so far is that you need to be intentional. If you are to have a healthy work-life balance, you have to be intentional. So before we wrap up the conversation, I'd love to ask, Raphael, do you have what's one thing you'd love to give to young professionals and youth of our days as to navigating a healthy work-life balance?
Yeah, I think as a young professional, the main goal is to be as productive as you can, to learn as much as you can, and kind of set your career path in the sense that you're going to grow. You can see you have a plan to grow. But that may also come with the fact that you need to still take that time to recalibrate, to rest, to recharge in a sense. So I would say, in as much as you're working as hard as you can early on, you can keep one thing. So even if you're working 40 hours a week, 60 hours a week, whatever the case may be, keep one thing that you know you're always going to stick to, that's going to be part of your personal life in terms of you being very intentional about doing it to rest, to recalibrate, to recharge and all. I think that will really help you to be sane because starting off is not easy. It involves a lot of mental rigor, and you can burn out and crash out if you only focus on just working, working, working. So always try to at least keep one thing that you can always set aside, that this is what I'm going to do to relax and to kind of breathe and take your mind off things for a while. And I think if you do that over time, you you see that you're kind of building yourself up to be great in your profession, but you still have a level of healthy work-life balance as well.
So I think that's one practical advice there. Set out one thing every week that you want to do, something that you can distress with. So it does not have to be many things. It can just be one thing. Set out one thing that you know that with this I'm exploring balance. Adora.
My advice would be it's quite difficult being a young professional starting out. As Raphael said, it's a constant strive to be better. You have to remain productive. You have to keep on learning, continuous learning. But I will say that you should be intentional about taking time out to do things that grows you in your personal life. So the things that will give you that strength to keep on going, the things that rejuvenate you basically. So take time out to go see your friends, your family. Just do that for yourself. It would actually help in your professional life as well because now you have the energy to keep on going. So that would be my advice to you.
So lastly, I'd also love to ask that do you think there's such a point that, let's say for instance, I'll just give two scenarios. There are two individuals. One is quite interested about the work-life balance stuff. He takes his work-life balance religiously. He's always ensuring that I have to balance work with life. Once I work, I must enjoy life. And then there is the other that feels like I need to get my game up as early as soon as I can. Once he gets back from work, he just sleeps, then till the next day. The other person gets back from work and goes a step further. It becomes more proactive to just explore I want to know everything there is about my work. So which of these two individuals do you think, the person that is quite focused on work-life balance, or the person that is focused on his long-term career trajectory, which of them, what do you think is the end of both of them?
I think this boils back to the first question: work life balance. Is it a personal question,
Mm,
or is it like the same for everybody? So the person that works immediately or after coming back from work, they go on. That person feels like they have it in the tank to continue going.
mm,
So I feel like for that person, the time that they now take out eventually is enough time for them to have balance in their life. And for the person that is very religious with the 50-50, that's what balance feels like to them. If they do it any other way, they feel they've like they've done themselves bad, basically.
mm.
So for those two people, they are finding balance in their own way. That's what I'll say.
Okay, okay. So I understand that knowing your capacity now, the one that comes back from work and feels like you can go an extra mile is because he feels like I have it in my tank and I can still go further. So personal understanding of yourself. Raphael, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I agree with Adora as well. And what you said as well, just knowing your capacity, because realistically, both people can reach the same destination, to be honest.
Mm,
There's really no um, direct formula to achieving your goals professionally, because someone can decide to take his time, be very intentional about work life balance and still end up being a senior executive at this company. The same person, too, or another person rather, can be, head on, always working, always trying to improve himself. Like, he's all about the work and will still end up in the same position. So it's just all about still knowing your capacity and what you actually want to achieve out of your career, what you want to achieve out of life in general. So once you kind of have that level of clarity, you can really choose whoever you can choose, where you want to fit in, and your full understanding of your capacity will allow you to reach those goals that you've set as well.
all right, so thank you. So one big takeaway is that you need to have clarity. You need to know what you want and how to go about what you want. Your career journey is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So you need to be intentional about taking time to rest. And with that, we have come to the end of today's episode. We really hope that you've learned one or two things from this episode that you can apply to your career to navigate a healthy work-life balance. Look out for our next episode and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.